Hello everybody, Tornado Soup here. Since its premiere in January of 2017, Riverdale has become a sort of phenomenon, with fans all across the globe, ranking among the highest shows on the CW, beat only by DC TV's shows such as Flash and Arrow. And to a degree, I understand why. There's a bunch of soapy drama and plenty of mystery to go around. But overall, I don't fully understand the show. Now, I will admit I've only seen the first season of it and only read bits and pieces of synopses about the different shows and episodes and seasons since then. However, I think I got a pretty general understanding of how it has worked since the first season, and I'm confused. Now, I wasn't a huge fan of the first season for a few different reasons. Now, I thought that it was written fairly well, and the acting was at least what I expected it to be. But there's just something strange about all of it, and that's really what we're talking about today. How exactly is it derived from the Archie Comics? Now, Archie was created in the early 1940s as sort of the all-American Boy Scout. You know, he was the traditional image of the perfect teenager. He had a bunch of friends, he was doing football, and he was beloved by the community. He had two different girls constantly fawning over him. In 1940, he was, the ideal teenager. And now we've got Riverdale, and the similarities between Riverdale and Archie are almost non-existent, except for the character names. Take Jughead, for example. In the show, Jughead has become almost like a sex symbol for some reason, and is constantly enraptured in this ever-evolving plot with him and Betty, and romance is abound. That's not at all how it works in the comics, though. A teenage girl might watch Riverdale thinking, oh, I would love to date Jughead. Jughead would love to date me. You read the comics, and no, Jughead does not want to date you. He wants a cheeseburger. That is who his character is. That's who his character has always been. And I understand the need for reinvention. Comic books are reinvented all of the time when they're translated from the four-colored pages of a comic to the movies. But there are certain standards that are kept. There are certain things about the characters that make the characters who they are. No matter how many times Spider-Man is changed in the movies, he will always be the geeky kid from Queens. Things will be modernized, the story will be adapted, but the basis of the character remains the same. That isn't how Riverdale has worked at all. There are small glimmers of the individual characters, but they don't really come through all that strongly. Archie, for example, isn't this all-American Boy Scout anymore. He's not really even a musician. He's just kind of... I don't even know how to describe him. Now, obviously, his character has evolved since first appearing in the early 1940s, specifically under the guide of writers such as Mark Waid and Nick Spencer in their current reboot of the Archie universe. Now, this reboot works in similar ways to Riverdale as an attempt to modernize these characters, make it so that Archie and Betty and Veronica and Jughead are all more relatable and realistic. But these new Archie comics do it so much better than Riverdale because these characters are clearly recognizable. Yes, there are certain differences, but for example, Veronica is the same character, just modernized and brought into the modern world. Unlike with Riverdale, where the characters are just adapted into this much darker and twisted universe. Overall, I don't really have a problem with the change of these characters. They should be malleable so that they can evolve and be used over time. Archie Comics has done this several times recently. However, they have tried to stick with some standards of the characters, some truths of these characters. They turned Jughead into a werewolf and Betty and Veronica into vampires, but the characters are still recognizable as Jughead and Betty and Veronica. Now, this isn't even necessarily a criticism of Riverdale as a whole. I hold nothing against the show. I'm not a fan of it, but it's not really made for me either. I understand that. I just find it curious that Archie was able to take these characters, these long-standing characters with certain instantly identifiable characteristics, and just completely change them into this. I don't really understand how it ended up like this. I know that there was some writer at Archie Comics who came up with this idea as an attempt to modernize the characters and took it to the CW, and Greg Berlanti ended up producing it, and yada yada yada. We're here now. But it's just so bizarre, almost. How do you take these lovable, affable characters and turn them into teenagers living through murder after murder and mystery and all of this stuff? It's just weird. Like I said, this doesn't mean I hold anything against the show. It should be able to be whatever it needs to be, but why use the characters if they're not going to have any similarities with the traditional characters, other than a few nods and references? Why not just create new characters? It's not like any real Archie fan is going to truly love Riverdale because the characters are so different. And it's not like any Riverdale fans are instantly going to want to go over and read Archie comics. There might be some crossover, but it's not going to be substantial. Either way, Riverdale is what it is. If you like it, I don't blame you. I understand the appeal. Like I said, it's not exactly meant for me, but I do understand the appeal. Anyway, why don't you leave your thoughts down in the comments below. Thank you for watching, everybody. Have a great day, and goodbye.